evening. I'm Julie Chen.
Wake up, everybody!
But first,
I cannot. On my daughter's birthday. Disgusting. Anybody want cake?
I want to welcome you guys all to my big brother funeral.
Can't find an individual to hate because I hate you all.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Big Brother podcast here to talk about all things Big Brother, more specifically the events of this past week. Season 25, week number 5, maybe? Doesn't really matter that much.
Sounds right.
We got our first, spoiler for tonight's episode, repeat HOH. Kind of a big
First
deal.
live HOH of the season,
That too.
which
I'm
I'm
gonna
pumped about.
Call this the first real blindside of the season because people were actually blindsided by the vote tonight.
They were absolutely blindsided, which was, you could just see how devastated Cameron was.
We got a lot to talk
And,
about.
dude,
we got a lot to talk about. By the way, I'm Nathan. This is Tony. Let's get this started. Tony, what are you feeling right now after watching this Thursday night episode?
I am pumped. I'm excited. Cameron being HOH is going to be so interesting. For a second, I thought it was going to be Izzy, which also would have been interesting, but I feel like we would have just seen her destroy her own game. But yeah, one of the hot takes that I teased you about beforehand, I like Cameron now. I think I'm starting to come around on him and just genuinely enjoy and be rooting for Cameron. I think it's just the underdog story part of it. The stupid lie Jared told that Red was hook, line, and sinker with. Yeah, I think I'm just rooting for Cameron, and he'll just bring chaos as long as he's in the house.
I can get on board with that. Room for the chaos. I don't know if I'm in on Cameron as a person, but there's that.
Who said anything about as a person?
I know you didn't. I don't know if I'm ready to fully root for him, but I think as far as HOH, I'm let's go. Let's just do it, you know. One of the two people that were fully blindsided by the vote tonight, the camera spent a good amount of time just focusing on his face, just standing there in the kitchen. You can't write a better script for this. Their faces after he won HOH, I mean, Suri looked like she was about to quit the game. It was incredible.
The disappointment. You gotta be able to mask it better than that. You gotta be excited. You gotta figure it out. You can't just. That was unless they're done ending to be nice to Cameron. Maybe that's possible, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Surprised by that.
I had that thought. I was like, did they just give up? Did they just acknowledge we blindsided him? There's no coming back from this. So what's there to hide at this point? I don't know. But you also have to wonder. The first thought that came through my mind is they made a big mistake voting out Heisem instead of Cameron when they had the chance.
Yeah, that was a bad choice. Cameron's gonna go for them way before Heisem ever would have.
I mean, the fact that he has won now 2 HOHs and a veto since, and that was 2 weeks ago.
And a veto to very much save himself. Could not have been more to save himself. And it's kind of just redemption for the fact that he got screwed out of his last HOH.
Yeah. This is the definition of ball don't lie. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's the game. There's always a twist. So to say that, this is the only season there's ever been a twist that an HOH was screwed by something, that's just factually incorrect. We've seen it over and over. You should just assume it's going to happen, and he just was unlucky that it was him. But standing there for 14 hours and then getting screwed was a little mean, CBS. It was a little bit much. You didn't need to go that hard.
It's true. You're not wrong. I think we talked about it. I think the justification for this twist is that there was a chance for multiple people to win it, and it didn't have to be played last week, which is there's a lot to dissect with that twist, especially since for a large part of this week, the majority of the House was planning on voting out the person that they saved with the twist last week. This House is so chaotic. They just flip back and forth multiple times a day. I gotta say, I am really enjoying the way that this season is going because of that. I have
They just
never seen a season so chaotic, and I can't tell. I can't tell if they're all just really bad. I think a lot of them are bad at the game. I do think that.
Mhm.
I think some of them are overly confident in the game, and I've seen it said a lot, like Cerie's just kind of playing on hard mode, where she is purposely just doing things that are not beneficial to her game just to see if she can get out of it, and she somehow is. And I don't know. Every week is just so surprising of what this cast is capable of.
also worth noting she's constantly stuck cleaning up Jared's mess
Oh my gosh.
repeatedly. Jared lies to Red's face, and Red mentions, I'll probably talk to Cameron after Thursday. So then he goes to Cerie, and I'm sure she flipped the vote for him. Like, that has to be what happened. You can't tell me otherwise. Like, just constantly doing stupid things, and then Cerie's like, all right, Jared, I'll get you out of this again. And
Yeah.
playing with a dummy like him has got to be tough for her.
Well, let's start there, because on Sunday's episode we did get a little more behind the scenes from last week's use of power, and it was a little chaotic. Okay, I didn't write this down completely in order, so let me see if I can recite this.
This
So, Matt and Cerie decide to use the power.
Mm-hmm.
Cerie lets Jag know about it, and then Jared also heavily hints to Jag that he'll be safe.
Moron.
Because he wants his own move. He needs to, I can't just let my mom do everything. So then Jag goes and tells Cerie about it. Say, hey, did you tell Jared? I thought that you said no one else knew, but like me and Matt. Like, why is Jared telling me this? So then Cerie has to go to Jared and pretty much like, what are you doing? Why are you telling Jag information that I told you? I mean, just like the most idiotic thing you could possibly do in that moment if you're Jared, and it's lucky that he won HOH after the fact.
Well, then Jared says, I'll fix it, pulls Jag aside, and goes, why did you do that? And it's like, what? And like makes himself the victim. It's like, no, you were the idiot who inserted yourself into this move. Obviously, Cerie and Matt were going to tell Jag that they saved them and that they were the only two that knew. Why did he think that he was going to get away with it? Like, think a step ahead, please. Just a single step ahead instead of trying to constantly do these moves that really aren't like why did he do that? Why did he try to lie to Red? Like what is it? I guess it had them turn on each other, but then you solidified sending one of them home. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and it's the type of move that like we see Cerie often do, and I gotta assume that's where he gets it from. The problem is like she's the best to ever do it in reality TV.
Yeah.
And you're not her. I'm sorry. Like just because she's your mom does not mean that carries over. Clearly. But like that's what he's trying to do. Like he clearly sees like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to like tell a lie here. I'm supposed to do this. I need to like he is aware that he is not doing enough. But honestly, like he shouldn't. He shouldn't like because he just doesn't have it in him to like pull off these moves.
Cerie wasn't doing this pre-merge in Survivor season 12. Like she wasn't playing this hard. You have to get a feel for the game before you start just trying to play at that level.
Yeah, exactly. While we're on Jared, this came up later during the week, but did you see him bragging about being on TV when he was 18 to Corey?
Yep.
This
They're
is
like, what? How'd you do that?
this and when I saw this, I think this completely summarizes Jared to me. I think like two things. One, him and Corey have been butting heads all week, and a lot of it, my own assessment on it is for whatever reason, Jared doesn't like that Corey is able to like get a girl like America. And Jared is constantly trying to, like we saw last week with the whole vote to get the power. Jared straight up said to Corey, he's like, oh, well, you don't really have the personality that America would vote for. Well, America did vote for him. Like he keeps saying things like that to kind of like assert his, hey, I'm older and more mature and more of a man than you kind of thing. And so this whole conversation was about Corey not having enough finesse. Like that was like, oh, like, when I was 21, like I had way more finesse than you or whatever. And then Corey says, well, I'm on TV. Were you on TV when you were 21? He goes, oh, dude, I was on TV when I was 18. So, like, one, the first thing about Jared is that he's always going to try to be the manlier man in those situations or whatever it is, like his pride, he can't help himself. And two, he is, to me, like the definition of entitlement when it comes to, hey, look who my parents are, where he is just running around causing chaos, expecting mommy to clean it up for him. And it's probably going to work. Like, he is so undeserving to be in the position he's in, but
Get him.
because of he's like, that's literally the definition of entitlement, And it's like so infuriating to watch him not get punished for his mistakes in these games.
Yeah, especially he has such an incredible advantage, which has worked to their advantage multiple times, but then is constantly like screwing up that opportunity. It just blows my mind. And yeah, his obsession with America fascinates me. This week they showed the whole him talking to Corey and be like, she better not throw this competition like she did that 14-hour HOH that she stood through the whole thing.
Right.
She threw that, of course. Like that's I understand you saying that like, oh, she made a deal and she's in my alliance and I wasn't a part of that deal. I don't like that. Like I do understand the logic of that, but saying that she threw it isn't a fair assessment. And Corey knew that, and Corey called him on that. Like Corey is not somebody we constantly talk about. You just need to find an excuse to like blame somebody for something. Corey's not somebody that you can do that with because Corey's smart enough to be like, no, that's wrong because of this. Like that's not an
Right.
accurate representation because of this. A lot of people you can pull that off with, and Corey's not one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. And because, like, I mean, the issue he had was that, like, hey, she might have made a deal with Cam. What was the deal? And he's like, yeah, she did. She probably, you know what I mean? She wasn't on the block when he was HOH. Like, that's a normal thing to do in that situation. And, it's probably good that America didn't really go off on Jared as much. But in the DR, she definitely let loose, where she was pretty much like, "What you didn't even last before the lights went off. Like, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that
like
moment.
yes, you're right. Like, you shouldn't be calling her out for lasting 14 hours when you couldn't last 1 hour.
And that moment, like that is the beauty of unscripted DR sessions in Big Brother. I understand that's not going to be every DR session. You're not going to have somebody going off like that. But seeing America be like, "Who are you? Like, why are you talking to me about this when you couldn't last 1 hour?" Like that was so much fun. I love that energy, and that's what I feel like we miss when when they're constantly. It's a completely different issue, but that moment I loved for that reason.
I will say overall, I feel like this season the DRs have been more authentic than usual. I don't know if you've noticed or paid attention to that. But I don't know. I feel like they're not as scripted and we are getting more insight. Like, it feels like just normal people talking to a camera and telling us what they're thinking, which I really want over all the other scripted stuff.
I think that's partially like you can't really tell Suri what to say in a DR session or a confessional.
Yeah.
Like you can have them say the lines that they're supposed to say, sure. But like she's one where it's like just let her talk. Like that she's good at this. She knows what she's doing. She'll make it entertaining. And that's kind of what you need. You need to just let them talk. And if they're boring, they're boring. That's just kind of like we don't need all these puns. And believe me, I love puns. But I guess I hadn't noticed that it was probably better this year than it has been in the past. So I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I started to notice last week, so I've been paying attention to it. And it could just be, I don't know, recency bias. I do generally enjoy this season more than the past few ones, so maybe there's that bias. But I don't know. I'd be curious if anyone else noticed that too. But yeah, so Jared won HOH as we didn't know last week. Pretty sure, right? No. Tonight's the only. What am I saying? Yeah, tonight's the first night that we actually have an HOH to like speculate on. That we're recording this podcast. So
we might
Jared,
have seen Heisem that might have finished before. No, I don't think so. I don't think it would have finished before we were done recording.
which
So yeah,
one?
this would be the first.
What HOH? What was the competition that he won? I don't even remember it.
Oh, he didn't win the balance beam. That was Riley. So we knew that one.
Yes, we did know that.
So
one.
that was it. That's what I was thinking. That one,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure is the only one that we've seen.
Yeah. So since we last recorded, Jared did win HOH. I don't know if you paid attention to the feeds or at all. The kind of first day of him being HOH after Jag being saved. But there was a moment where it felt like there could have been a shift in, not power because he was in power, but an awareness between other players. Specifically, Jag and Blue had a lot of conversations that night after Jag was saved. Because, and we did see a little bit this on Sunday's episode, but right before, after the vote had taken place to vote Jag out, and before he walked out and the power was used, he was hugging everyone goodbye, and America went up to him and was like, "Hey, I really tried. I just didn't have the votes," but like very sincere because like they've been close. But then a lot of people were trying to place the blame onto Corey and America of why they didn't have the votes to save Jag and why they needed to use the power. So the fact that like America did that kind of showed Jag like, wait a minute, that's not what America told me. Like she said she wanted to keep me and all this. So Jag and Blue sat down and they connected a lot of dots of where the power is.
Oh, really?
The frustrating thing about this is their conclusion was essentially to stick with the power.
Oh.
And that was it. They connected all these dots. They even like named out the head. They're like, I think it's like, like Sari, Izzy, and Jared. Like, how come everything, like why are they the ones calling the shots? Like Corey and America don't have power, blah 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 blah. They even at one point like called out Matt. He's like, Matt told Sari about this, but but then their conclusion was to stick with the 7 deadly sins. So we were so
Yeah.
close to like
Love it.
them being fully realized players, but I don't think they are. I don't think they got it in them quite yet.
Were Corey and America, were they the issue there? Were they the reason that it didn't flip to save him?
No, not at all. No, I mean they
Okay.
would have, like they wanted to, and that's kind of
Yeah.
part of
And that's what I thought. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I remembered correctly.
right. And so that's why it was a little confusing, and I don't know how much we actually talked about it, but like why they decided to use the power instead of the flip vote, and that was kind of it. Which we'll talk about later in this episode about splitting the vote, because I think Sari is starting to become more aware of how powerful votes can be and how much they can either blindside people, isolate them, create chaos. I think she also got sick of the unanimous votes.
How much people are hiding behind them?
Exactly. And so last week, the power was definitely used in a way to be like, hey, let's surprise some people. But unfortunately, America rushed to Jag to downplay that a little bit. Just a little bit, because obviously she's still a target to a lot of people. For some reason. I don't know.
So, America's another one of the people that I wanted to talk about with one of my hot takes. And obviously, this isn't Survivor, so nothing has happened yet. But the way she is being treated feels similar to me to Erica on season 41 of Survivor, where everyone's talking about how she's this massive threat and how you really have to be worried about her. But she hasn't done that much to really show that up to this point. But she's being billed as like this big person that they need to get out who's like a massive threat. And so because of that, I have this idea in my head, like, I think that she's going to somehow break up this power alliance. She's going to break that core and somehow survive, and America's going to be the winner. And so that's my new hot take. I think America's going to go against the establishment and win and become the winner of Big Brother 25 based on the edit. Thoughts?
Based on the edit that they do weekly. You understand the difference here between...
What do you mean? What difference?
Winners edits do not exist in Big Brother. I'm sorry to say.
No, but I think I see that. And obviously, I know that, but I see that, and I see like the story.
Yeah.
The story there, and like I feel like she has all the knowledge. She has like the game knowledge, that I feel like she could do. Maybe I just like America, and so I want her to succeed. She's probably one of, if not my favorite in the house right now. Her and Corey are just such a fun duo, so to see them just go wreck shop would be so much fun and great TV. And watch those two sides go to battle would be so cool. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. And like, yeah, it's obviously the edit doesn't matter, but that's the edit that it like reminded me of when I was watching it today. yesterday.
I think my take with her is I can see her easily winning America's Favorite House Guest by the end of the season. I think this week we started to see that underdog story a little bit with her, and I
little
think if she
selfish.
can keep that up, what's a little selfish? What?
Her being her own favorite house guest.
Stop. We're not doing this. We're not
It
doing
w-
this.
I was a little late with that. That would have been better if I was earlier. But that's a good joke. That's a good joke. You
America's
just said it. You
favorite.
said I think America will be America's favorite house guest.
That's true. So technically, I will never be wrong with that take.
Yeah. Well, Corey might be her favorite house guest. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good
I
point.
say if you know what I'm saying, like it was a very cryptic thing that I said. They're literally a showman's, obviously.
He referred to her as his girlfriend in the episode tonight.
I love it.
It's yeah.
It
The-
seems so
okay.
innocent.
Yeah, a lot. There's a lot with them. The fascinating part to me about them is like they still don't fully trust each other with everything. And that's the craziest thing is that like they are fully in this showmance. The whole house knows it. But yet they still have conversations with other people about like, well, yeah, I mean, they'll have to go eventually. Like they're not each other's final twos. And that's the funniest part to me. And like we saw that a little bit this week with like Corey is still acknowledging Jared as his final two, which like why are you doing that at this point? But
Yeah.
I am so curious to see like what happens with them because they are almost never on the same page. Like when you see them talk game, they disagree a lot. Like I think Jag's a great example. America really trusts Jag, Corey does not. And here like they're just cuddling in bed every night together now. So I kind of love it. Like I actually really love it
Yeah.
because there are showmans that like don't feel the need to like be on the same page in the game, which is weird and we haven't seen it. So I don't know. I love it.
It's almost this perfect situation because they're able to have their own opinion. They're able to like trust their people that they specifically trust, but at the same time they have complete reliance. Like I know that if I'm America, I know that Corey will not vote for me, and vice versa, or will not put me up. Like they know that's there, but they don't need to like constantly agree, constantly fight, constantly be going for the same things. Granted, they'll probably align for the most. Like if one of them got HOH, they would probably both agree with who they're going after. But yeah, like that's what you want. I feel like that's a very healthy way to do it. Other than nope, we like all the same people and dislike all the same people, and that's not a way to win Big Brother.
Showman's goals. That's what that is.
Honestly,
How much do we want to talk about the Jared controversy with America? Do we want to?
I had forgotten about it.
I feel like we had to,
feel like it should be
acknowledge
addressed.
it, but I don't. All right, so here's the rundown. I'm sure everyone knows. So here's the crazy part. So this wasn't actually on the feeds. Like there's no video of this. What we saw
I was
was
looking and I was confused because I didn't find it anywhere.
nope. The only thing that we saw was Corey talking to Jared and kind of scolding him, saying, "Hey, you shouldn't call America the R word," which is a slur that's I don't know. I'm not going to explain what it is. So that's all we saw of it. And Jared,
It's the R word, right? Like I know, like
yeah, no. I
I
mean, it's
know-
like it's
okay,
it's
cool,
the
cool.
yeah.
I
and
saw
Ja-
I saw somewhere it said like a racial slur, and I was like, that's not racial unless I'm thinking of the wrong word.
No, not that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Which I
Jared
guess there is
acknowledged
a
it.
racial
Like
one.
Jared apologized. He's like, yeah, I shouldn't do that. Blah blah blah. And so there's been a lot of discourse on CBS's policy, and especially since they had a similar issue this season already that they upheld, and they have not said anything about this at all yet. And it's I don't know. Again, I don't really expect us to have any hot takes on it or anything, but like
Their contract must say racial slur. Like if it said hate speech, I don't know. I probably would be considered hate speech the way it was used. I don't know.
I mean, I guess I'll give my take. My take is that like it probably is a rule, but they're just not doing it because it's Cerise's son. Honestly,
That sucks. If
do you
that's the case,
know?
that genuinely sucks.
I mean, that's just how the world works, though. And can you
Yeah.
imagine, like, do you want to risk Cerise like quitting the show because like that's not gonna go over well for her.
I think if it's
That's
caught on camera,
tough.
they don't have a choice. I think they're kind of hiding behind the fact that it wasn't actually said,
100%.
like where we could see it.
100%. And it's getting like even yesterday, Jag's family, who's running his Instagram, they had a whole post about it, like condemning it, and they I guess Jag works a lot with the Special Olympics, so they're selling T-shirts, and all the proceeds will go towards that.
Oh,
So they're like really combating this, and the
Yeah.
Special Olympics came out and had a post about it. A lot of Big Brother alumni. Luke from this season had a pretty strong
No.
stance. He did,
no, he did not.
saying that Jared should get kicked out because he got kicked out.
Okay, if he's coming from that stance, it's okay. Like, okay, I understand what you're doing. Like,
You thought he
Okay.
was going to defend it?
I thought, yeah. Well, no, I thought he was gonna be like, oh, I can't believe somebody would do this. Like, this is just so hurtful. Like that kind of stuff. And it's like, hey, man, he's just tired. He's been in there for a few weeks. He's tired and hungry. Like, it happens. But coming from the stance of like, I got kicked out. It's stupid that he doesn't. Okay, I can see that point a little bit.
Yeah, that was his take. It's just incredibly funny that the other person that got kicked out for saying a slur is now. It's what kind of bizarro world is what multiverse is this that
Yeah.
we're having to deal with? So I don't know. I don't think anything's gonna happen, honestly. Especially
Sounds like the scary verse to me.
since like it hasn't happened yet. Like it's probably not. It's just done. I'm ignoring you. What are you?
I could tell.
Okay, one more Jared controversy. Not really controversy. A lot of discussion between him and Cerise why he didn't get a letter from his girlfriend Kenzie for his HOH win.
Oh, really?
I found that hilarious. They could not understand. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I thought I put her at the top of my list. I said she was my first choice. I don't know why I didn't get a letter from her.
Jared and Suri were talking about this?
Yes, like what is going on? I don't like what am I missing here? What am I
She
missing?
for sure just refused to do it, right?
Like what? Okay, and like
That's so funny.
is Cerise just cool with this? Like, is that just the world that they live in? That like a monogamous relationship just doesn't exist anymore? Is that what I'm missing out on? Am I too like old school with like how a relationship works? Like, what am I missing here, Tony?
I wonder if Cerise intentionally not like. I wonder if first of all, Jared's probably hiding how much him and Blue have been like making out and whatnot, and I wonder if Cerise is intentionally like trying to not know. Like, I see nothing, whatever. And so
guess.
she's genuinely confused, and he's just playing along to be a part of. But she's gonna find out eventually. Like, I don't know why this is. He's trying to hide this from her. Like, it's not gonna be a secret for long. I don't know.
No, it's bizarre, and I can't help but just laugh at this point when he's sitting up there, just very confused. Like, yeah, I don't know. I wanted a letter from her. I wonder what happened. Shut up, Jared. Okay, we talked enough about Jared tonight.
We did talk enough about Jared.
Can we talk about Jag and Blue's hilarious plan to put Jag up as a pawn this week and fall right into
Yep.
the trap of them all targeting Jag? Like, what is going on? What is?
So was Blue just not aware of him potentially being a target at that point?
No, they purposely didn't tell Blue because they knew Blue was close to him. She brought up on her own, and in fact, it didn't get shown on the episode. But in that meeting, she suggested herself too. She's like, "Well, I'll go as a pawn. I know I got the votes. It doesn't matter who's a pawn. I'll do it. Jag could do it. We have the votes, so anyone could be a pawn." Like, do you realize this house
Are we
flip flops every
surprised?
single day? No, I'm not.
No, she doesn't,
surprised.
because
I'm
she's
just-
never a part of those conversations.
Oh man.
She's always just chilling on the couch.
It's insane. So yeah, so Jag gets nominated again.
There was a part of me. Okay, so I'm like, I think both options were entertaining options because now Red's gone, Cameron's mad, and now he's HOH. Awesome. I think if they sent out Jag and then watching Cameron and Red come back together, that would have been also just awesome for the season. I think that would have been so dramatic. Red just being livid at Jared, assuming he trusts Cameron, which he might not believe him at that point. But that would have been either way. It was so much fun. But at the time, I was kind of hoping that they'd send Jag out, and I love Jag.
I also like Jag. I'm just continuing to be like disappointed in his game or lack of it because
Mm-hmm.
it seems like he has so much information. I mean, the fact that like he said this week, he's like, yeah, I know I just got voted out, unanimously 10-0, but like, what I gotta trust the people. Like they said, I can trust them this time. Like where, like, do you have no sense of like, wait a minute, I should have had the votes. I have this large alliance. Why did they use a power to get me? Like, why couldn't, like, you have the votes. It
Mm-hmm.
makes no sense why he still trusts them, but yet here he is just offering himself as a pawn, and it technically worked out, but there was a long time this week that he was the target, and he might not ever know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so hard because when you're voted out like that, you can't you can do what Cameron's probably gonna do, and Cameron's just gonna go solo and be public enemy number one. That's a strategy. It's not an effective one. It usually fails. Or you can try to buddy up with the people who are in power, which I know you were saying earlier. It's dumb to be like, oh, this is all that's happening. Let's buddy up to the power. But when you just got voted out unanimously and are being put up for a pawn, which he didn't know yet, like, oh, is that the right move? To buddy up to the power, so hopefully you aren't the one that's sent out immediately, at least for a week or two, and then try to make a move once you solidify a little bit more.
I think what I think the ideal move would be in that situation is to try to figure out who is not in this power structure. And I think that's where it's almost like my expectations for him were so much higher because of a few conversations he had, like where him and Blue are so close to connecting the dots. Like they understand the power. They even understand who's on the bottom. Like they know that Corey and America are not within that structure. Like they know
Mm-hmm.
all these things, but yet for whatever reason they don't finish out the thought and just go back to the same game that they were doing that got them in this position. So, I mean, like, I see, yeah, you're right. Like, at some point, you do need to just go along with the power until you have a chance to make a move. But, like, I don't know. Like, there has to be something more you can do to not put yourself in this position because, like, he might just be the pawn guy for them moving forward because now they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
play this game where it's like, oh, we don't want people to know that you're working with us. Like, we have to put you up as a pawn because blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I do got to be a pawn, don't I?
So your perfect scenario would be him and Blue rally together, Corey, America, Bowie, Cameron, and Red, and make a leftovers alliance and go after the power people.
I mean, kind of. That's not going to happen because
Okay.
none of them trust each other, though.
Well,
But like,
yeah.
there's so many crossover relationships. Like, America's close with Jack. America's close with Corey. Jack's close with like, they all are loosely connected. But
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, I mean, I'll give credit to Suri. I think she's done a great job at making sure that there's so much distrust with some of those lower
Mm-hmm.
numbers, and
Honestly,
that's kind of what is preventing anything like that from happening.
speaking of Suri, shifting gears a little bit,
Yeah.
do you really think there's a way that Suri wins this game?
I I think right now she is exactly where she needs to be to win it. I I'm just as confident as I was in the beginning of the season. But there's always it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm. So where I'm at with her, I don't think I've ever seen Suri Fields win a competition. I know
Mhm.
she never won individual immunity. I don't know. Maybe she won a reward or two. I know obviously Jared came and visited. I don't know if she won that or anything. But I've never seen her win. I've never seen her come close to winning a comp here on Big Brother. And do you really think that the people around her are stupid enough to bring her to final two? Like that's kind of what I've been thinking about for the
Mhm.
past couple days. Like Izzy is at final three. She wins and she gets to pick who she's taking. Is she really taking Suri? Jared even. Is Jared really going to take his mom and let her beat him? unless there's been some conversation that they won't vote for her because she had an unfair advantage, maybe. But I just can't imagine a world where taking her, maybe Izzy takes her and then reveals that her son was in the house, so she had an unfair advantage the whole season. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Like I don't see her
Yeah.
winning her way to the end, and I don't see anybody being dumb enough to take her.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I think, especially from that angle, because in order to get to the end, she would need to win something. Because you're right, like I don't know who would take her, and so I think then the question is, does she have what it takes to win at least one competition, being the final HOH?
But that
And
would be
yeah,
winning two Well, yeah, you'd have to win two. You'd have to
two
win
of
the
the
first or
three.
second part to qualify for the third part.
Mm-hmm. Yes, correct. Um, yeah. There was a good amount of Izzy camera talk this week, and she compared herself to, or she didn't compare. She was talking to the camera, talking to Paige, which is her significant other back home. She often talks to the camera to Paige, and she said, "Am I just being Ben from Winners at War right now? Am I just like playing someone else's winning game?" Which is a great comparison,
Love
especially
that.
to uh, Ben haters like myself. So she's aware of it,
Good.
but
I would be.
I
She would be
haven't.
an awful player if she wasn't at least aware of it.
Right. But yet, it's this like she hasn't done anything to, you know, give any actions behind those words. However, I would say if she did, it'd be too early. So,
Mhm.
like, I
That's
do
true.
think Izzy has it in her to do something, and what that is, I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, we've also seen a lot of Sari talk saying that like she would give this game to Jared if she had to, which is lame and pathetic, and I don't like seeing her say that, but there is a world where if it's the two of them, she does lie down for him. So I don't know. I guess now that we're talking about it, I don't think she's gonna win.
Here's the thing. I
You
think
got
there's a
me.
very real chance that she plays the best game of Big Brother we have ever seen and still loses. I think that that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe there's a possibility that she's in control from start to finish, and maybe it's not the best game just because of that target management, and it's so clear that she's so good. But yeah, I think that's like a real conversation that we could be having in 2 months.
I think at that point, all I ask for is that whoever does win has a game that is like deserving to win. Because I think anytime we see
Hmm.
these situations where there's like one dominant player, I mean, season 19 is the best example. Like, do I think Josh should have won out of those final two? Yeah, probably. He probably should have got those votes. But like, that season is just that's Paul's season, and he just lost at the end. You know,
Hmm.
so it's like I want to see a winner that actually played as well, and I think there are some people in this house that like are doing a good enough job that I'd be happy at the end if they're a winner. Granted, they keep it up and
Mm.
stuff, but there's a lot of people
Yeah.
too that like in this house that I would be pretty disappointed if they are the representation of Big Brother 25.
Yeah. Yeah.
Specifically Bowie Jane.
Ooh.
If Bowie Jane,
Yeah. Bowie Jane's tough, dude. She's the only one that feels like a character when she's in the diary room. Well, Red did
good
a little
day,
bit.
Julie. There was
We get it. You're Australian. Come
one of
on.
the I think it was on Wednesday night, the diary room with Red, and he was like almost in tears. He was like talking about Cam, I don't know, whatever. And he had no accent. Like I swear he did not. I was like, wow. When he's
Yeah.
emotional, he just doesn't have it. It was it was crazy.
Sounds like Jasmine to me. Yeah.
Ugh. Why do you have to bring her up every chance you get?
She's a BB legend. I could see her coming back on a Legend season and be like, "Remember when she had the scooter? Remember the muffins?" And we're
That's
just
all
all
they're
like,
gonna talk about
"Get
is
out of
the
my face."
muffins. They love the muffins.
Even though that was a Turner bit, like that was that was
Yeah, no, no,
Turner
no.
did
That
it.
wasn't her. Yeah, you cannot credit like that was a funny bit for Turner. That's it. That's it.
She reacted well. That's worth noting. Another person who feels like they're doing nothing, but I feel like there's potential there.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Ooh, who do you think I'm talking about?
You're talking about Mimi?
I am talking about Mimi
Yeah, I agree.
and
Yep.
Nathan. I got one of my classic Tony comparisons. You already heard one this episode. I got
Okay.
another one for you. especially today, as she talked about like, oh my gosh, my alliance just constantly flips back and forth, and she was like complaining about that. It gave me vibes of Sophie from Survivor, season 23, where they're doing their and I'm
Are you
not
gonna
saying Suri and
talk about the Jack and Jill reward? Is that what you're talking about?
no, the Jack
Oh.
and Jill reward was a thing though that happened for sure. Um, but it's just this idea that like, oh, what was it? So obviously it's not the cult. I'm not saying Suri and that alliance are a cult like they were on Survivor season 23, but
Yeah.
she was just kind of along for the ride, just kind of existing with them. Wasn't fully bought into what they were doing, but knew that being with them was the right move at that time. And that's kind of the vibe that Mimi gives me, where she's like kind of that calming presence that we've said Xavier had for the cookout, but also just like I'm along for the ride and I know that these people are insane and indecisive, but I'm protected and literally no one is saying her name whatsoever. Like it's not a bad spot to be in
Yeah.
as long as she makes the moves at the right time.
No, I completely agree. And I think that is the position that you kind of want to be in because she's not like she is playing the middle and maybe not middle with sides because the sides are so fluid right now. But when it comes to like you got the power, you got like the underdogs who I would say, Cam, Corey in America to an extent. But then you got Mimi, who is never an option to anyone. No one's talking about her, yet she has relationships with a lot of people. So whenever this first half, whenever jury kicks in and there's actually like, okay, here are the 8 people we have left, and she's sitting there, she will have much more flexibility to maneuver than a lot of other people in the house.
Those are the people that she has to like right now. Everybody you're getting out, there's no bearing on whether or not you win. You can be as brutal and as cutthroat as you want to those people. You never know if they're going to come in a battle back, but we know they're not. At this point is when it's like, okay, now I need to take a step back and be a little bit careful and calculated. And she seems to be doing that quite well, and winning votes. Like if she's next to anyone that people hate, I feel like she wins it.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
no,
too
I
soon
would
to say
agree.
that. As I say that out loud, maybe it's too soon to say that because if she does nothing,
I
that still
mean,
might not
yeah,
work.
no,
But
no, no, it's impossible to predict that now. But yeah, I see your point, what you're saying. It is worth noting. Let's talk about the vote tonight for a bit because
Mhm.
there was a lot to leading up to it, and it almost left Mimi blindside tonight. I don't know if you're aware of that.
almost
have-
what?
It almost left Mimi blindside tonight. She was almost on the
Oh,
wrong side of the
really?
vote. Yes. So are you aware about this 6-4 vote that was trying to happen?
Yeah. Was Suri trying to get Felicia on the other side of that too? At some point?
As of today. So yesterday, or maybe no, it was 2 days ago. Cerise started throwing out this 6-4 vote that she wanted to happen. And again, I mentioned earlier, I think she's realizing that like there's a lot of strategy with that, especially since it's anonymous. Like, I think she's starting to like we might see more with that. So her and Matt really wanted this 6-4 vote. They knew at this point the plan was to vote out Red.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that Cam and Bowie were going to vote out Jag, and that stayed the same. Just nobody has clued them in. Like they thought the vote was Jag all week. So Suri and Matt were going to also vote out Jag, making it a 6-4 vote, and then they were going to try to pin those votes on Red. Now, a couple things with this. I'm going to try to make this concise so I'm not just talking at you the whole time. At first, they were legitimately not going to tell Corey in America about it and switch the votes to Red. So to have Corey in America vote out Jag, but then Jag ends up staying. Now,
okay.
Felicia went and told America immediately. So before the conversation was even done, America comes to the room and says, hey, so I heard the vote flip to Red. So I mentioned last week how Felicia is on Suri's bad side. Felicia is a major target to them now because of that and a lot of other reasons. Like she is out of the good graces for all
Felicia
of them.
was my final take that I wanted to talk about.
Do you want to spot it out right now then?
Liability. She's a liability, dude. Cannot keep it to herself at all. Oh my gosh. If somebody catches her in a conversation, we're like, all right, we'll bring you in. What do you think about this? It's like, what do you What are you
Yes,
doing?
yes. So that was a big one this week, is that she just told America before they were even able to settle on the plan. They're like, Felicia, we were going to blindside America, and now you just told her we flipped the vote, so now we have to include her. So the plan was like Matt and Suri vote and then blame those votes on Corey and America. Okay, so that didn't end up happening. They're planning on doing an 8-2 vote. Then today, Felicia tried to flip the vote to vote out Jack. She wanted it so bad. And this morning, she even accidentally spilled to Red that he was leaving because they were going to blindside Red. They weren't going to tell him that they were voting him out. And she ended up saying, like, oh, are you going to take that home with you? He's like, what do you mean? I'm going to be here tomorrow, aren't I? She's like, oh, well, yeah. So another reason they don't like her anymore. So she's trying to rally the troops to get Suri, Izzy, Mimi, her, and then Bowie and Cameron. Doesn't end up happening. And there was a lot of talk about, like, let's just blindside Mimi and Felicia. I don't know what ended up happening with that, because in her vote tonight, Felicia essentially said, apparently the powers have shifted and I'm voting out Red now. So someone got to her right before the vote, but up until a couple hours before the vote, there was a high chance that her and Mimi were about to be blindsided. So that's
Dang.
the big story. I know a lot of talking, but Cerise trying some things, that's for sure.
So you say the power of like having multiple votes go certain ways and blindsiding people. What do you mean by that? Because that to me just incurs risk. Like the fact that it's always unanimous makes sense to me, because then you're not really exposing what you think to everybody in the house, or what you're trying to do. And so is it just
Yeah.
manipulating other people into voting for the wrong person so it looks bad on them? Because then you're the person who did that to them, and they'll let that be known, is my thought process.
Yeah, I think there's a level of confusion that they want to put on the house, and I think this is where I said earlier, like, Cerise is playing on hard mode. I think she is so confident that, like, she can do this, that she's just trying it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some level of, like, the vote comes out different than what you thought. If you are aware of how that went, you are a step above the people who don't know what just happened. And so I think
Mhm.
that's kind of her mindset, is like, if you think the vote's going to be unanimous, but all of a sudden it's 6-4 and you just lost, like, that's huge. And I think the pinning the votes is the interesting part, and that's why they didn't ended up doing it, because she could not figure a way to, this is her playing all sides, try to appease both America and Corey and Cam, because she's like, we can't own up to this vote because that will make America and Corey suspicious, but we can't say that we voted for Red because that'll make Cam suspicious. So, like, how do we play the both sides here and not let either side know who we're voting for? And so there's still some workshopping, but I think by the next week or two, we might see some interesting things happen with it.
Okay. Hey, I'm in. Like, I think it's interesting. I wonder if that's just like the showmanship coming out of her a little bit that we see from like Dan and Will, which we've talked about many times. Just the showman aspect where it's like, let's make it interesting. Let's make it fun.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. And I think a lot of it is just like this, what's the word I'm looking for? But like trying to send a signal to people of like where they are in the house, you know. And I think by using the votes to do that, like, you can send a message, and so I think that's kind of her logic with it. And I don't know. I just think she's, yeah, like you said earlier, hiding behind the unanimous votes. She's sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Let's end it.
I would be nervous, like I said, that it's gonna be obvious that she's the one who's sending the messages.
Yes.
Like, you want it to be like a message is being sent, but you're not quite sure by who. Any message that, and obviously I'm outside of the house, so I have the benefit of knowing this. But I would always think Cherie's the only one with the power to do this. But
Right.
most of the house doesn't seem to realize that she's in the driver's seat as much as she is.
Yeah, and
Or at
that's
least they're not telling us that they do.
right. And I think, like, you know, we did see that with Izzy, but like, I think like Felicia thinks she's playing her own game. And I think we see Jared trying to make his own moves. And even Matt, like, Matt was really a big part in trying to push this 6-4 vote. And so I think from Matt's perspective, he's looking at it like, hey, I'm making moves. I had the power. He doesn't view it as Suri controlling him. He's viewing it as his moves, even though, like, we're seeing, like, no, Suri's just controlling your power. That's all that's happening.
Yeah, I do think there's a bit where they're doing something that's good for Suri in the first place. So I don't want to say all credit 100% goes to Suri because I don't think that's fair to anybody, any of these players.
Right.
She's an aspect of it and she encourages it and they listen to her. But like if she's like, "Hey, what do you want to do with it?" and he's like, "I want to save Jag," and she just says, "Yeah, do that." He still made that decision.
Mm-hmm. Nope, you're right. And I think that's probably why he is okay still working with her, because
Mhm.
it's like I have moves that are separate from her.
If she had said, "No, don't do that. Don't save him," and he didn't do that, then it would be like, "Oh, that's entirely her." Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. Do we want to give any predictions of what Cam's going to do, or is there just no telling? Because I honestly don't even know if I have any idea of what he does with this.
So the hard part is he doesn't even know. Now he doesn't even know that Red was mad at him because of what Jared said.
Yes, and that was kind of a surprise, I think, in the
Yeah.
interview with Julie. The fact, like, they didn't even talk about it. Like, Red didn't
She
bring
like
up.
hinted at it, but she didn't seem to want to tell him. But then she told him he's not going in the house because she told him about Jared and Suri.
Right. I think she just probably didn't even know where to start at that point because I don't think she fully realized like, wait, you didn't even like ask him, like you didn't confirm this information that Jared told you about your final two, like what? And I was shocked by that. I just assumed that he brought it up to Cam, but apparently he didn't. Apparently he's just like, nah, I just had a vibe and I just like I knew it was it. Like Jared was telling me the truth. It's like what?
I can understand the like not wanting to blow up aspect of it for sure. But yeah, you have to be like, hey, this is what Jared said you said. Like, talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's tough.
I think worst case scenario, and I actually do think this is sort of likely to happen, is that he votes or not votes, he nominates Jag again,
Yeah.
which would be a horrible move for him. And I can also see a combination of either Corey or America.
He has to take that shot at Izzy and Felicia. He has to.
I agree. I just
He has to.
have so little faith that he is going to be able to catch what's actually going on.
Remember that alliance that just said, we're all together, we're voting out Jag, we're Legend 25, and then immediately voted out who you considered to be your closest ally, who just
Mhm.
happened to be very cold to you the last couple days, and you weren't quite sure why.
Yeah.
Let's do some simple math here. Like it doesn't seem like
Yeah.
it's that difficult.
No.
But yeah, it's scary to go after the people who are in control. Yeah, what are you just gonna wait until someone else nominates you next week and you have to fight for the veto either way? No, just go for it.
If there was ever a week to do it, this would be it. And I think
Worst case scenario, you make a ton of chaos, and then people want to join your side or have your back a little bit.
yeah, I really hope that he wakes up and understands the position he's in being blindsided tonight. That's my hope, but I don't know. It's I'm gonna be watching the feeds a lot tonight and tomorrow morning. That's for sure.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be glued to them because
Yep.
it could really sway how this whole season's gonna go based on the next 12 hours of who gets to him first.
Have we
Do you-
talked about everyone we wanted to talk about tonight, do you think?
That's what I was gonna ask. I'm trying to go through. Talked enough about Suri, Izzy, Felicia, Matt. I think we talked enough about.
Yeah.
Bowie, nothing to say. Wow, did we just naturally bring up everyone?
Blue we just kind of mentioned in the background, but that's about what her role was this week, so that's fine.
I'm over Blue.
Mm-hmm.
The only other things that I think we should talk about is this next week. There's a couple interesting things.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, what was? Oh, Humiliverse week. What's the?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, we're gonna get a lot of fart sound effects, I suppose. I don't know.
Whoa. Everybody loves a good fart.
This is the part that I can never 100% recommend Big Brother to people because of that.
We did get to hear Julie say toot, which I didn't think I'd ever be able to say.
No, especially because she's a very religious woman of God,
Yep.
having to speak those vulgar words.
Well, it's not like she said fart, Nathan. She said toot.
Okay,
It's
This is a-
perfectly ladylike.
Yeah, okay. But she said that there would be something next week, next Thursday, that would shake up the house. I'm trying to scroll through Twitter now to see if I could see exactly what she said, but that was the gist of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, here it is. Thursday, big announcement for the house guests that will affect this year's jury. That was it, the jury. What does that mean? Do we get jury life each? Is that what that is? Probably not, right?
No, I'd guess a jury battle back.
Maybe, but she's gonna announce that to the house guests.
Oh, did she say she was? Did she say she was gonna announce to us or to the house guests?
I'm reading a tweet that says she'll announce to the house guests. So this tweet could be incorrect, but
Okay.
I don't know. So something about the jury. The other thing is we have a 2-hour episode on Wednesday, which not really much information other than this is going to be a different type of week. I thought I saw somewhere. I should have wrote all this
Is
down.
there no Sunday episode because of football?
Oh. Is there no Sunday episode? No, there has
I
to be a
think
Sunday episode,
I
right?
feel like I remember them saying that Sunday nights they were gonna have it on Monday nights instead once football season started, but I'm not 100% sure.
Really? I am
Or maybe
drastically
Saturday
trying to
nights.
look this up right now. What is today's date? Today's the 7th. It says the next episode is the 10th, so no, that'd be Sunday.
When the 2023-2024 television season begins, the Wednesday episode will shift to Tuesday.
Oh, wait.
That's not football.
No.
Oh, is that
but
for
I
when Survivor
still...
starts?
Oh, perhaps. Because the schedule I see goes up to the 21st, and that's still having episodes on Wednesday, so maybe.
Yeah, that must be Survivor.
Okay. Well, anyways, there's a 2-hour episode on Wednesday. They haven't really said what. They hinted that there's probably going to be like unique competitions this week because it's the Humiliverse week. So I don't know. The point is, like, there could be more twists that affect the week, which would be funny if it blew up Cameron's second HOH. It'd be hilarious.
Well, I would love it.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I got a little fun fact for you.
How fun we talking?
Man, the funnest.
I could use a fun fact. Go for it.
We are approaching day 39, which will be Saturday, which I believe is the longest Suri ever lasted in Survivor because it's only 39 days. Did she? I think she lasted 39 one of the seasons. Or at least close. It will, in the next couple days at least, it will eclipse the longest she ever spent in Survivor, and we're barely a third of the way through.
Yeah, that's actually a very crazy fact. There's so much Big Brother left.
Yeah.
I haven't done the math of like evictions, but there has to be at least one more buyback, right? Or battle back, I guess.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was at least one, because they want to do a triple or another or two doubles or something.
Have they only done the triple once in All Stars 2? They haven't done that the past 2 years, have they?
I think I thought that they did, and I said that they did last week, and you proved me wrong.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Would you like me to look?
No, that's fine. I don't care that much.
I can look.
People can look it up on their own time.
I've looked before.
You've looked before.
I've done it. I've looked before.
I believe you.
Not in 2024. They had two doubles. Not that I'm looking or anything. That would be outrageous.
All right. Well, do you got anything else about this?
We had two doubles in. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm just. Are we done? Is that it?
Yeah,
We
I'm
good?
done.
Cool.
Do you want to be done?
No, I'm gonna sign us off then. I think we got it all. I think.
Okay.
Good week of television.
I had fun.
Hopefully an exciting HOH.
Go Chiefs.
Sure. Happy football day.
Woo.
All right, for more episodes. Not getting more personal. Tony is frozen on my screen right now. Oh, there he is.
You're killing it. What?
You froze halfway through that woo. and you were just
Oh, really?
it was great.
I was listening. I was watching football.
All right. More Not Game All Personal. Visit notgameallpersonal.com. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Really. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, YouTube, at NGAP Pod. That is at NGAP Pod. I'm Nathan. This is Tony. We will see you next week.
Remember to toot one another.